Hi, everyone. My name's Crain, and a little bit about myself. I'm from a small town in Kentucky, and I came to Coastal to study marine science. And I'm really passionate about recruitment, and that's why I decided to become a recruitment counselor.
Hi, and my name is Cassidy Gosz. I am actually from a small town in Wisconsin, and I came here for finance, but I actually just changed my major to sociology, and that's hopefully what I'll be graduating with in December. And I wanted to help the PNMs, find their home, which is why I became a recruitment counselor as well. And we're here mainly just to talk about, how to deal, like how to have time management, because we understand that, being a part of a sorority is a time commitment. And we also understand, that a lot of people, have jobs or are part of other clubs. And, those types of things take up time as well. So we're mainly just here to talk to you about how to do that time management. So, Kat, would you like to talk about, how to manage dealing with, your academics and the schoolwork first?
Absolutely. So my freshman year, actually coming in to a sorority, I was really worried about managing the college level academics and being in an organization. But I'm here to tell you that it's not a big stressor at all. It's really just about being intentional with your time. If you have like the motivation and the drive to do both, you will be successful in doing both. And there's also lots of things within all of the organizations on campus to help support you in your academics. There's lots of positions that manage and deal with cumulative GPAs, like your semester GPAs. They kind of keep track for you, and they're kind of like there as a tutor. Like some of your sisters may be in the same classes as you, which is helpful. May have had like professors they can recommend for you. There's lots of girls with the same majors, but also different majors. So it's just a great variety as well. And it's totally manageable. And I've found that it's actually more helpful to be in an organization to get through like your college academics than to not have one.
Yeah, and I actually completely agree with you. I mean, my freshman year was also when I joined my organization, but our recruitment was on Zoom. So it was a
Mhm.
little different than everything, and classes were also all on Zoom. So I felt that it was a little bit easier to manage the academics and the sorority. But then when finally we were no longer on Zoom, I found it just a little bit harder to get into the swing of, going to class, doing the homework, and like in-person meetings for my organization. So that was
Mhm.
definitely just a little bit, harder because I was used to just sitting in my bedroom for everything. But it is very manageable. And like you were saying that, there are others in your organization that, are in the same major or are taking the same classes. So, you guys can totally, work together on homework assignments, or, they can offer some assistance and, oh, this professor is great. Or, if you need any help, like I'm here for you, which is really nice. And it does really help, keep everybody accountable, and it makes it possible for things to get done because everyone understands that sometimes it's a lot.
Absolutely. And I also want to mention that, like, not just like with Greek life, but also just coastal in general, there's lots of like great places on campus that can help support you in your academics. Like we have departmental tutoring. So, like, specifically for your major, there's tutors that have had these classes that you're taking and they can help you. There's also like a writing center and like a math learning center. And we have a coastal student success center. So they do lots of like academic coaching. They literally help plan out your life for you, like sit down with you, write out like your daily routine. So if you're maybe not the best with time management, but you still want to go through recruitment, there are ways that we can help you get to that point.
Yeah, that is actually wonderful to mention as well, because I think it was last year I was taking a finance class and I was struggling, and I can't remember the specific like website that you go to, but I know that there is a way for you just to book a tutor, and you show up and there are people there that will literally sit there with you for an hour or two or three and help you explain, the things that you are struggling with, which is so wonderful. And it's not even just a part of the organization, like, Coastal does offer those things as well, because I don't really think anyone wants any student to fail, so it's wonderful that they have those options there.
Absolutely. And then on top of academics, we also want to talk about having a job and being in a sorority. And I personally, I work on campus, which is really beneficial to me. It's really easy to go to work and go to class, just a quick turnaround time. But I know it can be more difficult for people who have jobs off campus, especially with commuting. Do you want to talk a bit about that?
Yeah, of course. So I do have a job off campus, and there are a lot of times where, unfortunately, my job is like, well, we just can't give you that time off. We just can't give you that time off. So, I mean, there are times when, unfortunately, I do have to miss things, but that is when, you just let the your organization know and say, hey, like, unfortunately, I'm at work and I can't make it,
Mhm.
which does suck. But there are also a lot of times, where your organization will give you plenty of heads up, and there will be a calendar, sent out like pretty early in the semester, so that way, you do have the chance to submit all of those requests to your manager, which is
Mhm.
nice to, to stay on top of. And that does take like personal motivation, because you want to be there for the events that your organization is holding. So they usually do give you a lot of time to prepare for those things. And realistically, like, when you have either a mandatory meeting every week or those types of things, you just have to realize what time it is, and then you just have to let your job know, hey, I can only work past this time. And most places are very understanding, especially considering you are in school, and they realize that as much as they would like you to devote your life to the job, you can't, because you're in school. It's things like that. um but for the most part, a lot of places will be really understanding when you tell them, hey, like, I'm a part of a Greek life organization, so there are times when I can't be here for a weekend or things like that. You just really have to give them the ample heads up of when you need time off, and a lot of times they're very understanding for those things.
Absolutely. And I think like communication is really key in this situation. Like you need to be able to communicate with like your supervisor or your boss, and you also need to be able to communicate with your sorority and the person who's like in charge of taking like attendance for events and that sort of stuff. And they're really flexible. I feel like on both ends, at least in my experience, they really want to work with you. They want you to be able to do both because, like, in order to be in your organization, you need to be able to pay your dues, which is why like working helps you like stay in the sorority. So I feel like your sorority is also really understanding and like receptive about that idea because a lot of them are doing the same thing, if that makes sense. We all usually most of us have jobs and we're trying to work to pay money to be in the organization so we can help people. And so they really want to work with you so you get that best experience. They're not there to like stress you out or like make you like have to like clear your whole schedule for mandatory events. It's really not stressful as long as you plan ahead and you're communicating.
Yeah, absolutely. I completely agree with that. Once you know that, oh, I won't be able to make it to something, you really do need to be communicating as soon as you know, because then that way, maybe there's a way that they can work with you, and maybe, you can show up for a little bit, or like there's a way that you can do something else instead. But definitely communicating with ample time to your management at your job, as well as with ample time to the people in your organization that you need to communicate to. There are a lot of times, like you said, where they would be willing to understand where you're coming from and work with you, and making sure that things are either like excused or unexcused, but as ways like around to not it hurting you in your like place in the organization, which is really good, because like you did say, it does cost money to be a part of these organizations, and it is good for all of us to be working as well, because money does come and go, and we need those types of things.
And then we also want to talk to you all a little bit about managing being in other clubs and organizations, like being involved on campus beyond your sorority. So for me, in my organization, it's very important, like to be a well-rounded person in many different aspects of the coastal community. And so um, we really encourage sisters to be involved in other clubs and organizations. And so I personally am involved in Shark Club and Sea Turtle Club since I'm a marine science major. It's like right up my alley. And there's lots of different events and meetings that happen throughout the weeks and the months that we are required to go to for those organizations on campus as well. And so just again, like communication is key. Like if you let your sorority know like what's going on in your life, reasons why you may be missing other events, or ways that you can make up certain events if they're mandatory for attendance. They really want to work with you. They're not there to like micromanage you or try to give you like fines maybe, or maybe like restrict you from going to certain events. They really want you to get the full like sorority experience. And I also like really think it's important to recognize that the people in your organization are students just like you, around the same age. They're going through the same things, the same environment, and so they understand what's going on. But if you stay silent, maybe don't communicate, like, "Hey, I can't attend this." Maybe it's like a sisterhood event that you have during the week, but you usually have a club meeting at the same time. If you don't communicate why you're maybe missing the event, it can be really stressful when it gets like the end of the semester, and maybe you want to get points to go to certain events, or maybe you have to do um, community service hours, but you didn't get enough time because you were doing stuff for a different club. But just making sure you're like relaying this information to both sides, so they're kind of like not in the dark about it, is probably the best advice I can give you for like managing being in multiple different clubs on campus.
Yeah, and I really like that you mentioned, that we are all, students here first, and that is, an amazing thing to remember, that even people like in positions in your organization, they are also, taking classes, and they are also a part of other clubs and other organizations as well. So, there are times where, they might not be able to make it to things as well, but you just have to make sure that you are openly communicating with everyone, that in anything that you're a part of, any club, any other organization, a job, those types of things. And that really is the
Mhm.
most important part of it, is because nobody can know why or what's going on if you don't communicate about why or what's going on. So nobody can help you,
Yep.
or make things easier or anything like that, if you're not communicating, like, hey, I'm struggling in this class, or hey, I'm a part of this other organization, which is why, like, I can't come to these events, or my job doesn't allow me to take off on certain days. So it really is important to just really have that open communication between all parties involved in anything, because that way everyone just knows what's going on.
Mhm. And being in a sorority it's totally manageable while you're being a college student, like through work, through your academics, through your clubs. You're totally able to still be in your Greek organization and do all of those things here at Coastal. There's many different support systems for you through the university, through the Greek organizations, and just through other students in general. Here at Coastal, everyone really is just very open and welcoming. I feel like in my classes, like there's people that I've met, and they just will form like study groups. So if you're worried about your academics, like you don't even have to rely on your sorority. There are other ways that you can go about like improving your academics or studying without having to do it through Greek life. I just feel that Greek life has been the most beneficial way for me to improve my academics. And I just also want to note that like it can be stressful, and you will have periods of time throughout college where you're like, maybe you consider things like dropping. You're like, I just don't have time to do this. But I will promise you that those stressful, busy days will pass, and you'll be like glad that you're still a part of that organization, because you'll see how much it has like benefited you throughout your time here at college.
Yeah, I completely agree. I mean, for me, I have that job off campus, and then I'm a part of an organization, and I am, always a full-time student. And for me, it's every single semester I have to learn the new routine, and it's a little stressful at times, because I'm like, oh my gosh, it's not anything new. Like, you do it
Mhm.
every single semester.
Yeah.
But it's just learning the routine, because classes are different. The workloads for the classes are different, and sometimes that does become a little stressful. But I
Mhm.
mean, I'm hoping to graduate in December. So clearly I've made it work. And I honestly have no doubt that anyone else could make it work if they wanted to make it work. So it really is just about putting in the effort to make it work with, your job or your other clubs and organizations or your Greek life organization. I mean, as long as you put in the effort to do all of those things, there's no question that you can't do all of those things.
Absolutely. Thank you, Cassidy.
Yes, thank you guys for listening, and we hope that this is very helpful for you guys, and we hope to see you at recruitment.